Alright guys, I have no idea how a conversation about KVAR and RPKs quickly turned into a conversation about the twist rate on Krinks, but that was over on my personal channel. Hi, this is Misha, and figured I'd just throw down here real quick and talk about the twist rate and reports of keyholing and not keyholing, and try to do a little bit of a disambiguation here. I was going to grab mine, which is dressed up with wood furniture, very classic Russian AKS74U appearance. But you know what? This is a little closer. This is a factory Arsenal SLR104UR 104-51 carbine, made in Bulgaria. Chamber for 5.45 by 39 M74 if you want to be pedantic, as I often am. This is a brand new gun because I have a few of these squirreled away because I think this is a really good gun and one day will be of great interest to collectors because this is a true so-called Krink or Krinkov. In actuality, AKS74U, which stands for basically AK model of 1974, folding stock, short gas system. Yeah, Krinkov's easier, isn't it? There's only a few changes to really make this civilian legal. For one, of course, it's semi-auto only. For another, it has a 16¼ inch barrel. As you see, it protrudes. And that's really it. This is all Bulgarian, except for some 922R parts they throw at it. We've got, I believe the handguard set is US. Pistol grip is certainly US. The side folding stock is brand new and stiff, of course. This always happens to me on camera. Sorry guys, I can't push it right now. When these things are new, they usually get paint over them. One usually good kind of tap with the rubber mallet breaks it free. So, side folding stock, you get the idea, is US. And the trigger group is US. And this is you can tell, a more recent gun because it has the newer and much improved Arsenal trigger. Let me see if I can get you there, guys. This is basically a copy of the Molot semi-auto trigger group, infinitely better than the one that they were using for quite some time. So we've got 1, 2, 5, possibly 6 US parts. Everything else is Bulgarian. These come with a Bulgarian brand new 30-round polymer military mag. They are threaded 24 right hand, which is correct. So if you do cut the barrel down, you've got threads. Let's flip it over. And yeah, you're going to hear that a lot because that happens all the time because of that light shade being there. We've got Krink combination front sight gas block with the sling loop on it. Short Krink hand guards. The up one is supposed to be loose because of how these come off. We've got a hinged top cover. The hinge is here with a spring-loaded plunger. We've got a flip L rear sight. You get the idea. See? Kind of cool. And then it just comes right off. This would if the bolt group wasn't in there. We also get a side rail, which wasn't standard on the Soviet Krink, but was an option. The AKSN or AKNS74U or the AKS74UN. They threw a U in there. You get the idea. And like I said, we have this left side folding stock that I can't really do one-handed on camera here for the first time. Don't worry, if you get one, they do get easy. Also, it even has the trigger or pistol grip reinforcing plate. Something a lot of people wanted on the side folding SGLs and didn't get. So this is the real McCoy. We have a Bulgarian receiver, Bulgarian cold hammer forged barrel. So let's talk about the barrel. That's the main point of contention with these. And I actually did bring out some barrels here. If these are a little scratched up, it's not Arsenal's fault. These have been in my parts bin. I also put the wonderful Arsenal box back there. Yeah, their boxes are rubbish. But that's communist cardboard. Here is an original virgin Bulgarian barrel, 16 1/4 inches. In 545, this has a 200 millimeter twist, which translates to 1 in 7.87. So not quite 7.9. A little under 1 in 8. Chrome line hammer forged. Now here is a virgin Krink barrel. This is 8 1/4 inches. Some places say 8.3. You get the idea. So essentially half the length. See here. Now, this also has the same 200 millimeter 1 in 7.87 twist. And that's kind of the bone of contention for many years. And I thought this was kind of a settled issue, but I guess it is still, there's, you know, old videos out there and going on and on. Originally, when the AKSU was developed, which, you know, to be fair, they started working on this in 1973, really before even the 74 was completely done. But it wasn't introduced until 78, maybe 77 or 79, late 70s, with primary production in Russia not happening at the Tula factory, mostly through the 80s. These were always kind of limited production items. They were intended for tank crews, helicopter crews. It was a PDW, a survival gun, also kind of what we would think today as a CQB gun, close quarters battle gun. And so originally, they gave them the short barrel, short gas system, yada yada, and the same twist rate. Now, Bulgaria essentially got the TDP, as we would call it today, from Russia, and it got the design for the Krink, as we see here at the semi-auto. And it pretty much made early patterns of the AK-74, AKS74, and the kind of earlier pattern for the AKS74U. That's why the Bulgarian barrels like this still retain that twist rate. Well, after some testing in Russia, late 70s, early 80s, from what I've read, a lot of it was in feedback after they invaded Afghanistan in 79, and they started to use the Krink in higher altitudes, thinner air, and in the cold more. They realized that they weren't getting the accuracy and the range that they wanted. Well, some testing, fast forward, they increased the twist rate from 200 millimeter to 160 millimeter, which translates to 1 in 6.3 inches. So we're about a 40 millimeter faster twist rate, which is just a little under 1.6 inches faster. Now, a lot of American sites will do some rounding, and this isn't dishonest. Rounding is perfectly mathematically sound, so they round 6.3 down to 6, so we get 1 in 6 for the short barrels, what people think is correct. And for the original, they round the 7.87 up to 8, so we get 1 in 8. So we're taking a difference, it's actually a little under 1.6, and we're kind of rounding it where it looks like it's about 2 inches difference. Still not a huge difference though, folks. If you consider the U.S. military went from, 1 in 12 with the original Vietnam era M16s and such, to 1 in 7 with the newer guns like the M16A4 and the M4 and M4A1. Of course, there was also a lot of bullet weight differences and so on and so forth. But interestingly enough, that's also what happened with the U.S. military early in the M16's use. They would originally have it with a 1 in 14 twist barrel Actually, these were made by Winchester for Colt, and they were tested out in 1961, 1962 in Vietnam by U.S. allies, kind of unofficially, wink wink, during something called Project Agile, and feedback was very positive. Now, to fast forward, they did some Arctic testing, and they discovered that in Alaska and other cold or high altitude environments, the 1 in 14 twist was not fully stabilizing bullets, especially tracers. So what they did, they went to the 1 in 12. And this seemed to increase performance, range, accuracy in high altitude or cold environments, but at the cost of the bullet tumbling. Remember the whole thing behind 223 early on with the 1 in 14 twist was for the bullet to impact a target and then tumble, causing a larger wound. So when they went to the 1 in 12, so 2 inches faster, they decreased this a little bit. I wonder when they went to the 6.3, if in Russia they noticed less wounding capabilities for 5.45. It's just something to think about. So there's kind of the rundown of why they did it. It wasn't that the Krinks with the 1 in 8, as we call it, were just unreliable or just hugely inaccurate. They just weren't performing as well, especially in certain environments, as they had hoped. And because we had infinite government funding, being the Soviet Union, they played with it and they found a slightly better twist. But Bulgaria never went to this. They kept on with the 1 in 8 because really they only switched to the 5.45 in 1984, and by the 90s they were already getting away from it because of the fall of communism. So they really had no reason to do it, and the 1 in 8 was working sufficiently for their needs. Yes, with the faster twist, a Krink with the shorter barrel would be a little more accurate. But let's be honest, you're not using an 8-inch barrel gun for a sniper rifle or a DMR. You're using it for close in. So slightly better accuracy isn't a huge deal. So what about the whole, sorry guys, keyholing thing? Well, a few things. First off, let's talk about the Military Arms Channel videos, which the first one was posted in the comments section of that video I'm talking about in my personal channel. If you look at when it was dated, it was September of 2012. This is significant because the gun that Tim had in that video was not a Bulgarian SLR104UR. It could not have been because this gun was not introduced until December of 2013. The gun he had in the video was a kit build on a Nodak receiver that he said he bought off AR15.com, and that was very poorly put together. He did say it keyholed. He did say that it had the 1 in 8 twist, but he was also very fair, saying it could have been the fact that it had a very poor crown, because what the guy did, he did not get a proper Krink barrel. Instead, he got a barrel like this, and he cut it down. That is really interesting, because if you look at the profiles side by side, let's say I cut this barrel down to here, you're going to notice the profile is radically different. Even if you cut it down, it's not going to behave properly. The steps and everything are wrong. Let's look where the gas ports are at. I mean, it's such a bad idea. Trying to show you guys there. One moment. Okay. See if you can see it. This is the gas port. It's way out here. That's past where this barrel even is. Which is good. We don't have to plug it in. We just cut it off. But let's look where this gas port's at. Come on. This is much more difficult to do one-handed. As many things are in life, folks. There we go. Much closer. And you'll notice, yeah. So while you can cut down a 16-inch barrel, it's not going to have the right profile. You're going to have to make your own gas port, which leaves so many places for the person to have messed up. And if the build wasn't quality to begin with, he could have drilled the gas port wrong. He could have drilled it all the way through the barrel, damaging the rifling. And who knows if he crowned it correctly. Tim said it either had a poor crown or no crown. So we really can't say that gun wasn't shooting correctly because of the 1 in 8 twist rate when there were so many other issues it could have been. Now in the video he says that Jim Fuller of Rifle Dynamics told him, oh, it's the 1 in 8 twist. Okay? You know. Where's the evidence? So when the 104UR came out, people were already worried because they did not release these as SBRs immediately. So what people were doing when they bought them Christmas of 2013 and just January of 2014, they were immediately filing for SBR forms. But there was all these theorists saying, oh, you can't just cut down this barrel because it's got the 1 in 8 twist. It'll keyhole. So we had to kind of wait for people to get their stamps back and cut the barrels down. Guess what? There are few to no reports of keyholing with cut down SLR104URs. Also, Arsenal released a factory SBR, which we would presume they put these barrels in. And both, either cut down or this, have the 1 in 8 twist. And again, no real consistent reports of keyholing with the 104UR SBR. It was all just theory, just hype. Now, will the 1 in 6 perform better? Especially if you live in the Rockies or Alaska? Yeah, probably. But the 1 in 8 is definitely not a deal killer. And to Tim's credit, Military Arms Channel put out an update video testing a factory brand new 104UR with the 1 in 8 twist, and it performed just fine. He had 2, maybe 3 instances where it might have been keyholing slightly, but he wasn't sure. It could have been 2 bullets striking near each other. Either way, it was not consistent. And he was also trying with many bullet weights. He tried 55 grain hollow point Wolf, which I'm going to be honest, he had some cycling issues with, and I've always had cycling issues with it out of short barrel guns, even 7.6239, so that did not surprise me. He also tried 55 grain FMJ, and he tried 69 grain Red Army Standard. Now, the Wolf ammo is out of Russia. The Red Army Standard's out of Romania. That brings me into another talking point. Not all 5.45 loadings are equal. You also have 7 and 6, which had a slightly different bullet weight. Much like with 223, different countries, different factories, different time periods had different bullet weights, different powders, maybe a little bit, with 5.45. And much like with ARs, there is optimal performance. You want to shoot a 55 grain, give or take, out of a 1 in 12, and you want to shoot a 62 grain or greater out of a 1 in 7. That's not to say if you put a 55 grain in a 1 in 7, it will just immediately keyhole. It will work fine. In fact, I've got some 1 in 7 guns that, for whatever bizarre reason, like the 55 grain more. My Tavor comes to mind. But usually the best performance is with the faster twist, heavier bullet combination. But we're not going to get substantial inaccuracy or major keyholing. And it's the same way with the Krink and the 1.6 or 1.8 twist. I would say if you have a 1 in 8, you'll probably experience a little better performance with 55 grain, maybe a little tighter groups. If you shoot Red Army Standard, the 1 in 6 might give you tighter groups, but again, this is just theory. In reality, all of this was much to do about nothing. It was all speculation in 2013, 2014. That really proved to be 95% or more baseless. And even if you have a gun with a 1 in 8 twist barrel, don't and it's giving you subpar accuracy or keyholing, don't automatically assume it's the twist rate. Check your crown, check your gas port, try different weights of bullets if those look good. It may not be the twist that's the problem, it could be anything. Heck, there could be an imperfection in the chrome lining of the barrel. the twist is probably one of your least concerns, frankly, in my opinion. Well, I just felt like this needed to be addressed because it got brought up in, of course, the 2012 video where Tim says that Jim told him it was the 1 in 8 twist that would cause keyholing is still around, even though, very much to his professional credit, he released a follow-up video a couple years later showing that, yeah, he had good performance out of the 104UR SBR, and many of us also have had good performance, either cutting them down or replacing the barrels, myself and Jay included. Still, old videos hang around in old lore, old rumors, old gun shop, wives' tales, whatever, are very, very hard to kill. So I thought I would do this, plus just the Christmas season, and we put out our first 104UR video. Well, we put it out in 2014 January, but we actually recorded it in, exactly 5 years ago in December. So, I don't know, kind of a little bit of an anniversary. Merry Christmas, everyone, by the way. So yeah, I just thought I would address this. I'm also going to link our old original video, so you can laugh at us. It's cringe-worthy even to me. And then we have a newer one from last year on the history of the Krink, as it's called. The stubby AK of many names, where we get into the history and evolution, development, and other variants of the Krink. So if you would like to hear more about that, check that out. Well, this is Misha. Hope this cleared up some things, and happy to discuss in the comments below. Really do appreciate you tuning in. Anything, please like, share, subscribe. Also, if you'd like to help the channel, check out our Patreon page. I'm going to post this video probably on both channels, so if you're on the main channels, apologies for my camera work. I'm doing my best, but this seemed like something that could be addressed and should be. As always, Jay and I both appreciate you, and again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we will catch you very soon next time.